What's up, everyone? This is Lucas Ross Sports, and you're watching my Lucas Ross Sports channel. And it's time for my New Year's Six bowl games after week number 9 of the 2022 college football season. The college football playoff rankings come out tonight. I'll give you a reaction video to that video tomorrow. I'll give you my thoughts on the playoff rankings when they come out tonight. Actually give them out tomorrow. Obviously they come out tonight, but I won't have to do a second video on this channel. But hope you guys are enjoying the content so far on this channel. But we made some changes to the New Year's Six bowls. Obviously, I wasn't really doing them right, in the first few weeks. But I think I'm pretty accurate with this, in these 4 out of the 6 bowl games. Like I said, I give you 4 out of the 6 bowl games, and then I give you my playoff projection standings. And I'm going to give you those on Friday because the schedule is, going to be different. We have upset alert on Thursday now, and now we have, of course, the college football playoff rankings out now. Those will come out tomorrow, and then of course the college football playoff standings will come out this Friday. So let's get right into it here with our New Year's Six bowls, and we'll start with the Rose Bowl. And I'm going to go with Oregon versus Penn State. I think Penn State is still going to be good enough to go to a New Year's Six bowl game at the end of the year. I think they could still win out. I know they already lost to Michigan and Ohio State, but those were their toughest games on the schedule, heading into this year. Michigan State could be a tough game, but Michigan State hasn't really been all that good this year. And for Oregon, they have just improved a lot, ever since that BYU game. They just been, cruising along. They got a big win over Cal this past Saturday. They already beaten, UCLA at home. So I would have put UCLA probably in the Rose Bowl if, they would have beaten Oregon, but Oregon instead won that game. And I think Oregon is good enough to go into the Rose Bowl for this game right here. If I was going to make a prediction on this game, just based off of the performances from last week, though, I had to go with Oregon because Penn State turned the ball over against Ohio State, 4 times, and that's not going to win you a game at all. Turnovers have been a lot of the, it has changed a lot of games over the year, and that's what's changed games, this season is the turnovers. Penn State, had 4 turnovers against Ohio State. They hanged around for a little while, but it wasn't enough to really pull off an upset. So I got Oregon here versus Penn State in the Rose Bowl, Pac-12 versus Big Ten game. Should be a really good matchup, though. 2 great offensive teams and great defensive games as well. Let's go to the Sugar Bowl. I got Alabama versus TCU. TCU undefeated in the Big 12. Alabama had a bye week this past weekend. They'll play LSU on the road this Saturday. I'll tell you what, that is going to be an interesting game. Alabama, could lose that game, and they probably won't make it to New Year's Six Bowl, this season. If they do that, if they lose that game to LSU, it's going to be a pretty rough season for Alabama. They were possibly supposed to be one of the top teams in the country heading into this season. Maybe besides Ohio State, maybe besides Michigan, but Alabama is a team that, is just coming off, win against Mississippi State a couple weeks ago. And then 3 weeks ago, that loss to Tennessee really hurt them. But they got back on track with that Mississippi State win. And I think Alabama proved enough to still be in a race for your New Year's Six bowl game. They probably won't make the college football playoff, but, it's really possible that they could still make it, even though if they're 11-1, or maybe 12-1, because they're, this game right here between Alabama and LSU really decides maybe the SEC West, but Ole Miss is still in that conversation as well. The SEC West is wide open. TCU, they're ranked they're ranked pretty high in the AP poll. If you saw my top 25 yesterday, I gave you my thoughts on TCU. And I think this team is clearly the best team in the Big 12 Conference. The offense is good. The defense is good. We've seen TCU sometimes, start off slow, but, this team is pretty accurate when it comes to the offensive side of the ball. And defensively, they just have been pretty good as well in the last couple games. You look at the schedule, who they played. Obviously, they played Kansas State, in that game. They also, beat Oklahoma State. So they have gotten past, a couple tough games on their schedule. I thought Oklahoma would be a tough game, but Oklahoma turned out to be pretty terrible this year. So TCU right now, if they win out and go undefeated, they could possibly make the college football playoff. But if they get a rematch with either Oklahoma State or Kansas State, they probably won't make it in. But I think they will make the Sugar Bowl I mean, possibly this year against an SEC team like Alabama, or maybe some other SEC team like Tennessee if they lose somewhere. I mean, they could possibly play that team as well. But if I was going to make a prediction, Alabama would win this game. Not pretty easily, but I think the defense will be good enough to stop this TCU offense. So that is the Sugar Bowl. In the Cotton Bowl, I got Ole Miss versus USC. I would love to see this matchup. I would love to see Ole Miss versus USC in the Cotton Bowl. A Pac-12 versus SEC team. Ole Miss, coming off a big win against Texas A&M this past weekend, survived that game by 3. If Ole Miss does win the SEC West, I mean, that will be a big, a time accomplishment for Lane Kiffin's team. I mean, could possibly play Tennessee or Georgia in the SEC championship. Tennessee and Georgia play this Saturday. That decides the SEC East. But which game really decides the SEC West? Well, I think if Alabama beats LSU, Alabama and Ole Miss, if Ole Miss wins as well, LSU obviously is out of that conversation, and then Alabama and Ole Miss probably decides the SEC West. I mean, Auburn's pretty much out of it. I mean, they just fired Brian Harsin, this yesterday, so I mean, not any other team in the SEC West is going to really catch up to Ole Miss, Alabama, or LSU. But it just really comes down to Alabama and LSU this Saturday. Who is that second best team, perhaps, in the SEC West? I mean, Ole Miss pretty much at the top right now, but LSU. All these SEC West teams have one loss in the conference. Obviously some to a West team, and then obviously to an East team. I mean, Tennessee defeated LSU. Tennessee also defeated Alabama. So I mean, then Ole Miss lost to LSU. So I mean, it's really a big race for the SEC West. USC, coming off a game against Arizona that was really close. I mean, yes, I know they shouldn't really be in this conversation for a New Year's Six Bowl, but I think they are still a contender in, those New Year's Six Bowl games. I think they can still possibly make the college football playoff as well, and also possibly go to the Pac-12 championship, where they could meet Oregon, they could meet UCLA. That Pac-12 race is wide open, but right now Oregon is at the top of the Pac-12. But if I was going to make a prediction on this game, it would be a shootout type game. I'm going to go with Ole Miss's defense. I think defensively, it's going to be Ole Miss's defense that comes up big in this game. And I think the Cotton Bowl would be probably, this game right here in the Cotton Bowl would probably be the bowl of the year. So, I mean, I think Ole Miss versus USC would be a really good matchup in the Cotton Bowl. All right, my final bowl here in the Orange Bowl, I got Illinois out of the Big Ten West against North Carolina out of the ACC Coastal Division. Both of these teams, they're 7-1 heading into this weekend. North Carolina clearly is the top team in the Coastal Division. Illinois, a lot of question marks. I mean, it's hard to tell who is at the top of that Big Ten West, but right now it is Illinois. I mean, this team is rolling. What a turnaround it's been for this Illinois team, ever since going 5-7 last year. They are now in a race, for a Big Ten West Division title, and also possibly make it to the Big Ten Championship, where they could meet Ohio State or Michigan. I mean, both of those teams in the Big Ten East are at the top of their division. So, I mean, Illinois, Purdue, and Minnesota are pretty much the top 3 teams in that division, but right now, clearly, it's Illinois. They have not lost in the Big Ten, West right now, when their only loss to the season is Indiana, which they could have been sitting there at 8-0 if they would have beaten that Indiana team. Indiana turned out to be a terrible team this year. Illinois, I could see this team going into a New Year's Six Bowl by the end of the year. I would love to see this one. Illinois versus North Carolina. They're both at the top of their divisions. Even if they lose even if they lose in their both conference championships, I think they would meet in the Orange Bowl by this season. But if I was going to make a prediction, I would choose North Carolina. I think North Carolina's offense is kind of just much better than Illinois. So I'm going to say the Tar Heels would win that one if the Orange Bowl were to happen. And those are my New Year's Six Bowl games after week number 9 of the 2022 college football season. Let me guys know what you think about, these New Year's Six Bowls, and keep subscribing to this channel. We're trying to get the views up and also growing this channel. I appreciate all the subscribers so far on this channel, and stay tuned here for more on the Lucas Ross Sports Channel.